Nebuchadnezzar was unbelievably powerful. His kingdom was huge, huge. And he had come through and just wiped out Jerusalem. The wall was flat. And the Jews, and all the Jews that survived, they were exiled to Babylon. They were just taken. They were kicked out of their homes, and they were all gone. Nehemiah, he was a cupbearer to, what was his name? I think it was Artaxerxes. He was the king of Persia. And the cupbearer was very close to the king. He had a lot of connections. The king and him usually had a close bond because the cupbearer would taste the wine before he gave it to the king to make sure it wasn't poisoned. One day Nehemiah was kind of the guy, he's like, Lord, the place where my forefathers are buried is in ruins. And he's like, and you told Moses that if we ever strayed from you, our enemies would overthrow us, but if we all reunited and came back as one, and we gave reverence to your name and followed your decrees, you would bring us back even from the farthest ends of the earth to rebuild Jerusalem. And so he's all upset, and he's like, you gotta help us, you gotta bring us back. And Artaxerxes notices that Nehemiah is upset. And he looks at me and he goes, what's wrong with you? He's like, you're not sick, and what's the matter? And Nehemiah says, I got this problem. I want to go fix it, and I want to rebuild it. Artaxerxes pretty much says, he gives him all these letters to all the people that are around Jerusalem saying to give him wood and building materials so he can rebuild the wall. And he goes there. And when he's there, he picks all these different families, and they all get sections of the wall. It's like this family rebuilds this part, and this family rebuilds this part, all the way around to rebuild the whole fortress. But the problem is that all the countries Jerusalem is surrounded by really dislike the Israelites. They really dislike them. So a lot of Nehemiah is them dealing with the struggles of the people around them, attacking them in so many ways. And that's what I'm going to read out of 4 is when the surrounding countries start realizing that they don't like the Israelites. They don't want them to rebuild that stuff. So this is Nehemiah 4:1-6, and it says, when Sanballat heard that Sanballat was this guy that apparently didn't like them, heard that they were rebuilding the wall, he became angry. He was greatly incensed. He ridiculed the Jews. And in the presence of his associates in the army of Samaria, he said, what are those feeble Jews doing? Will they restore their wall? Will they offer sacrifices? Will they finish in a day? Can they bring the stones back to life from those heaps of rubble, burned as they are? And Tobiah, who was an Ammonite that was with him, said, what are they building? Even if a fox climbed on it, it would break down their wall of stones. How many people here have ever seen a fox? Tiny, tiny little things. They're not when you hear a fox, I used to always think they were big animals, but I saw one for the first time a week ago. They're tiny little things. They're so cute. But it's really a picture of the mockery of the Israelites, that the guy's saying they're so weak. A fox could walk on their wall and it would collapse. They couldn't even, they're nothing. The book of Nehemiah is writing almost like a documentary of what happened. And he prays to God and he says, hear us, O God, for we are despised. Turn their insults back on their own heads. Give them over as plunder in the land of captivity. Do not cover up their guilt or blot out their sins from your sight, for they have thrown insults in the face of the builders being the Israelites. He's pretty much saying, he's like, God, these people are attacking us. We're trying to do your work. You got to help us. And this is what I think is cool, is if you read through the entire book of Nehemiah, not once does it say, and then God handed them over to the Israelites. It doesn't say anything there's nothing like in Moses when he parted the Red Sea. It's like God just fixes the problems. And that's what I think is cool, is it never really specifically brings him up. And there's a couple ways that the surrounding countries attack them, and that's through mockery and just slander and trying to bring down Nehemiah and just trying to bring him down so that the Israelites stop following him. They also do extortion of their food and resources, trying to starve them out. They even do death threats. They come after Nehemiah specifically, trying to assassinate him, trying to murder him, and threatening to wage war on the Israelites as they're building. And it got so bad that Nehemiah had all the builders, half of them would stand there with a sword and a spear waiting, and the other half would be building with a sword on their hilt, just ready, so that any time they were attacked, they were ready to just take them. This is what I thought was interesting, is that Nehemiah knew he was doing the Lord's work. He knew God would protect them. He didn't know per se, but he was really confident that God would watch out for them. But one thing I didn't notice is that he didn't lay down and just wait. Oh, God's got it. I can just sit back, relax. He'll take care of it. No, he did everything that he could do and said, God, you take care of my shortcomings. And I thought that was cool because he took all the resources that he had, everything that he could do, he brought it together and he says, Lord, this is what I got to protect us. This is what I got to take care of us. He's like, but it's not enough. He's like, I've done everything I can. I've given everything, but you gotta take care of the rest of it. It's like, I'm gonna do my best. I thought that was cool because in real life, God doesn't just hand over success, right? Unless you like win the lottery or something. Other than that, God doesn't want us to be lazy and him just hand us blessings and him just give us everything. He demands the best from us and us to give everything that we have, and then he takes care of our shortcomings. And I thought that was cool because I just thought that was really interesting. It goes on, and God blocks off every single one of these attacks. He supplies them with food. It doesn't even say how, but somehow they never get to Jerusalem to attack. They never get there. And in 52 days, Nehemiah has rebuilt the walls of Jerusalem through everything. It made me remember, God's always there. It's something we forget. I mean, okay, who here has gone through something hard in your life or felt any sort of pain whatsoever? Anyone? Okay. Okay, if you didn't raise your hand, I don't know. But you probably have a very good life. Even when you're going through the worst things you've ever imagined, when you're sitting there and you're like, God, this really sucks. Like, this right now sucks. It's like we forget he's standing over us the whole time. I just think it's so cool because we forget about it. Nehemiah the whole time is always saying to the Jews, like, God's got you. He's protecting you. He's watching you. And he's like building them up, and the people are just building. They're like, yeah, we could get attacked, but we're just going to keep building because God's got this, and get through the whole thing. And I just think it's so cool. But it's interesting because in chapter 6, verse 16, it's Jeremiah after he had finished the wall, and he says, when all our enemies heard about this, and this meaning like when they heard they finished the wall, he said, when all of our enemies heard about this, they were afraid and lost all their self-confidence because they realized that the work had been done by the help of our God. And it's because, this is the last thing I thought was cool, is when the nation saw what had happened in Israel, and they saw that some reason nothing they did worked. They're like, we can't get to these people. We try to starve them, they find food. We try to like destroy them. We can't. And they were afraid, and they lost all confidence in their own ability because they realized that the Israelites, the only way they had accomplished it was through the work of God. I just thought it was so cool. And I've heard a few people talk about Nehemiah, but I've never heard someone talk about it this way. And I just thought it was an amazing passage. And it's just so cool to me to remember that, like, God's always in control, whether it's health problems, relationship issues, whether it's money, whether you're like, if you're like, God, I just need you to provide, I need you to heal, I need you to fix something. It's like he's always got it. And I always like to think, it's like when you're stuck in traffic and you're driving, there's a reason God's got you stuck in traffic. You just have no idea. And that's how I always get through. I'm like, I'm supposed to be in this traffic. I can be late. It's okay. And that's kind of like how I get through it. But I think it's such an encouraging thing to remember. Even when life sucks, you're like, you know what? It's because it's got a purpose. And there's going to be more coming that I have no idea it's even coming that's going to blow my mind. And it's just a really reassuring thing to have through your life. It's like when you got health problems, be like, or when you got money issues, or when you got anything that's causing you stress, pain, frustration, anguish of any kind, just be like, you know what? God's got this. There you go, money. God's got it. Well, that's our message of encouragement tonight. We got pumpkins that we're going to carve out. We're bringing them out now, and we're all going to, like, spread out at tables, and we're going to just start carving them together. So, thank you. So cool.
It's very interesting that the young person like you talk about God, how you did it. Very good.
Thank you. All right, so we probably could just start like organizing them around tables, and then we can get all the pumpkins out. We can just start carving them up. It's gonna be fun. We got all kinds of like cutting knives, and we got angel food cake. Oh, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. So like, Scott, come help. Oh, he's got the strawberries.
You do a great job. Oh my gosh, I'm so proud.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Very good speech for a young tender
For a
age.
little young fellow. I love that.
He talked like old man.
Yeah, like an old man.
know if that's a good thing. Whew, so much adrenaline.
That's great, man.
But you know, my grandmother used to talk about all that stuff when I was growing up. So I know what you were talking. I know where you're coming from.
Strong.
Yeah.
Well done.
But it was cool because I was reading, they asked me to do the talking, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. And so I was like, just give me something to talk about. And I was reading, and I was going through Jeremiah, and I was like, this is such a cool story. So I decided to bring it out just because I've never heard anyone talk about it before. So I think it's really solid. All right, I want to help you.
All right.
Go for it. We probably
Which table would you like to
I wonder if
be
we
at?
should move this table into the middle because it's probably going to be less crowded.
We are carving pumpkins.
It's kind of heavy. Jeremy, you want to?
The kids want to carve pumpkins with you, so we need to find a table to put you at. So whether you want to come here, you can join here, or you can go back to this table. Anywhere? Anywhere? Well, there's this prime table right in the middle. I think it's calling your name. One over here. Can you move your chair over?